Celtic Guardian.
It's CG for short.
Hello YouTube, I'm the Celtic Guardian, and you have no idea who I am. And I don't know most of you either, so we're off on equal footing here. So, I'm making a top 10 list. Those haven't been done too much yet, right? Right? So what better subject to do a top 10 list on than video games? Everyone likes video games. Well, except this guy. But who needs him, right? So, let's get started.
Video games tend not to be tied to reality in order to allow a process of imagination and creativity fuel the design and gameplay. I'm pretty sure Super Mario Bros. Wouldn't be as fun if it were a bit more realistic. But, despite this relation being as close as the Earth is to Neptune, there are times when elements of reality can become intermixed with video games. And one of these examples is actually trains. Trains are definitely overlooked a lot because, well, in real life they're just so standard and boring and dull and everything else. But in video games, trains can have a lot more potential to be expanded upon and become even kind of awesome. Hence why I made this list. Here are my top 10 trains in video games. Why did I pick 10? Well, I could only think of 10. I mean, come on, there's not that many. What do you want from me? Number 10. Pokemon's had a lot of spin-offs over the years, hasn't it? Some good, some bad. I mean, for every mystery dungeon and rumble we also got Pokemon Pinball and Pokemon Link. Or Pokemon Trozei if you live somewhere here-ish, I think? Yes, I played this game and I found myself forgetting it fast. It was just kind of standard as puzzle games go. The only thing really unique to it was the Pokemon in it. Oh yeah, and this. The Phobos train is a bit of an odd pick in and of itself, even for this kind of list. It's very minor in its appearances. But that being said, I really love this thing. The Phobos' vehicles in general are pretty awesome. I mean, you've got a plane, a drill, a submarine, a walker, a spaceship, and let's not forget this kick-ass train. This train serves as the first boss location, as it transports Pokeballs to the Phobos' HQ. Which actually raises an important question. If we can quite clearly see where the Phobos Battalion are hanging out, why couldn't I just go in and storm the place instead of playing the rest of this rigmarole? Huh? I want an answer, damn it! What I like about this train is its very unusual and innovative design. I mean, look at it. It's a gigantic metal centipede. Wait, no, not you! Get out of here! Anyway, the centipede design means it doesn't even need rails to move around, which is pretty damn cool. The part on the back looks a little awkward though. It forces in the Pokeball design where it's just really not needed. There's not really much else to say about this train since you barely see it, and it's just there for the first boss location, where you fight this guy. Are they going for a Mantis thing here? I really can't tell. All in all, while the stage and the game in question may have been rather forgettable, this train's unique design and innovation land a solid 10 on this list. Number 9. I must admit, just from looking at it and playing the DS game, I didn't really get why everyone was into Starfox. Anyway, moral of the story is, I picked up the 3DS remake and really enjoyed it. Especially one certain section on a planet named Hamlet. I mean, Macbeth. The Forever Train level really stuck out to me when playing this game, as it blended the idea of both a train level and a boss fight, with the train being a constant obstacle, which is a nice change from the standard scattered collection of enemies and then the boss. This train was packed with weaponry to take your landmasters down, including boulders, a couple of laser cannons, boulders, a mortar cannon, I think, and a giant mechanical kite thing. Oh, and let's not forget those rocks.
Oh my god, a giant rock!
There are only 2 things keeping this train low on the list. First, this train is pretty easy to destroy. Seriously, each part of it goes down in just a few hits, probably due to how many carriages there are. But even then, this train is really slow. Do all trains on Macbeth run this slow? I mean, I get mad when my bus is late, but this is ridiculous. But there's still a lot to like here. The train is a pretty cool design to it, the level is very fun, and you get to watch it explode after you change the switches. That's fun. And as I said before, I like the blend of both a constant hazard and a level. So in my books, the Forever Train is definitely a notable locomotive of gaming's past. Say, since this train didn't get to its destination, shouldn't it really be the Never Train? I apologise, that was terrible. Well, let's just move on. Number 8. The Mario and Luigi RPG series has been so fun to me. Changing up the standard RPG formula by giving you control over your attacks and moves, making it a more interactive RPG experience. And Bowser's Inside Story is no exception, letting you play as the powerhouse Bowser. And if that wasn't enough, he can grow gigantic! Which leads me right up to... Bro, no! One of the few bosses you get to fight as Giant Bowser is this little red train with Fawful's ugly mug on it. After the Monty Moles controlling it both insult Bowser and run him over with the damn thing, it's up to the bros to make him big. And they do so by... doing... that. You know guys, why didn't you just use one of those Mega Mushrooms from New Super Mario Bros. For the DS? Surely that'd make things quite a lot easier, and I'm questioning Nintendo logic. Silly me. Anyway, unlike the previous two Giant Bowser bosses, which were kind of standard and easy once you started beating them down, the Fawful Express was a much more varied boss fight. The train itself can unleash some pretty cool attacks, including sending large groups of Toombas at you, firing missiles, sending out those little jetpack guys, and even fighting you in a giant hill mecha. Take that, Gundam! Something I really like about this fight is that whenever you do damage to the Fawful train, it continues to show as the fight goes on, like Fawful's face losing some teeth. That's the closest you get to injuring him for the moment. And I also like how the game shows you how much further it is to the final point, in, mole meters? Whatever. But this is where the problem with this battle comes in. It's essentially timed. If you don't destroy the Fawful train before it crosses that last bridge, you lose. And this is much easier said than done. The train is only weak to fire attacks, not so subtly given away by this moronic mole, so that limits what you can really do in this fight, and the train will have an annoying tendency to heal itself, especially during that hill mech section. So this was the first Giant Bowser boss I failed on. I suppose in that sense you could call it a challenge and it raises tension, but to me it was just kind of annoying. But even then, the fact remains that this was one of the more unique and fun boss fights in this game. Other than this piece of crap. It's just a dustbin. It's just a dustbin! Number 7. When I started to work on this list a while back, I promised myself I'd keep train levels off of it. Mostly because almost all train levels tend to play out exactly the same, and there's not much difference in between them. But there is one I simply couldn't leave off this list, so this is the exception to the rule. The Khallos Express. After fighting your way through Khallos' training yard base, you eventually find the James Bond villain, no, seriously, escaping on his express, intent to launch a French nuclear missile and start World War III. So, how does Sergeant Cortez catch up to it? Like this!
Thanks.
Straight up badass. But anyway, this train level was nicely varied right up till the end, and featuring more henchmen than you can count, different types of carriages, from passenger to storage, a surface-to-air missile launcher, 2 helicopters defending the damn thing, the missile itself, and even a luxury car for Khallos himself, featuring a slot machine.
Cortez, you're mankind's last hope for survival, and you're playing a slot machine.
I wouldn't trust any of Khallos' toys, Moon Man.
The 2 most notable parts of this level include taking down the second helicopter, where you interact with your future self, yes, Cortez can do that, where you first need to defend future Cortez from guards, and then shoot down the chopper yourself. Sadly, the interaction between the 2 is at a minimum, and it really isn't as funny as, say...
ghost gun. Does it work on zombies? No.
Also, there's this kind of short boss fight with Khallos on some kind of jetpack thing. Jesus, how many gunshots can this guy take? And of course, at the end of it all, you gotta stop the train before it runs over your partner's girlfriend. And that may be cliche, but it's played up for laughs, so I'm okay with it. And it even averts it slightly at the end. In any case, this level was very fun, and the train itself remained varied and interesting from its back bumper to its cow catcher. Ugh, really guys? You're writing groan-worthy jokes like that for me now? Number 6. Mega Man's had a lot of spin-offs over the years, hasn't he? I mean, for every Battle Network and X series we got... Wait a minute, this is sounding really familiar. Did you really try to copy and paste this? You lazy... I enjoyed the Battle Network series. I picked up the 5th game on DS and then the 6th one. Nicely enjoyable series, I'd say, especially the Robot Master redesigns. They're all far more unique than their classic counterparts and really incorporated more features into their designs. And this brings me to Charge Man. It counts. It's still a train. Look, see, definitely a train. Anyway, this boss fight is more optional than necessary, but I think it's worth playing just for its uniqueness. Most other Battle Network bosses only enter your area briefly for a quick attack, but not Charge Man. He just charges right in with no fear.
Like a mouse!
Adding on to that, this battle was really varied. Charge Man's attacks could be pretty hard to deal with, including funnel fireballs, explosive carts, and of course, his deadly charge attack. This battle was pretty tough for me, as you got so few chances to strike Charge Man before he's out of your range. But when I did land a hit, it felt so satisfying to stop that train dead in its tracks with a counter-strike. Furthermore, I love Charge Man's design here. It looks like the perfect mix of both the cyber feel of Battle Network with a classic train, which to me looks far more appealing than a more modern train design. It's a nice throwback to the original Charge Man too, whose design always did feel a little bit clunky to me. They even added on some features, like those claws. Claws on a train. 2 words. Badass. Finally, beating Charge Man nets you the Charge Cross ability, which I found myself using very frequently. I don't know, maybe this is just me, but I still love this train. Very tough and quite fun. You'll get a real charge out of this one. Oh, that was terrible! Number 5. Final Fantasy. Before it turned into Final Hallway 13 Part 265, there were the games with actual likeable and somewhat more competent stories, like this one! Now I'm currently working my way through this game, and those of you who know this game knows exactly what's coming, so let's cut this padding. Remember when I said I was trying not to put train levels on this list? The Ghost Train is another exception, as you first have to fight your way through its carriages, fighting off enemies in the aisles and on the roof. Once you reach the engine, you learn that this train is most definitely alive, and proceeds to talk to you and chase you down as you fight it, which nicely mixed up the feel of bosses somewhat. I also really liked the surprise I felt when this thing was talking to me and then chasing after me. It was a bit of a shock to me, but a good kind of shock. Like when you eat an apple and discover it's made of chocolate. What, no one else has that? The Ghost Train has been an interesting staple of the Final Fantasy series. There's a strange mystery to this train that really draws me to it. It's said to be the carrier of souls for the afterlife, which is cool in and of itself. The whole bleak design of the train just adds to that mystery. It looks kind of steampunky in its own way, with all the pipes and such on it, and its bronze hue. But it's clearly more than just a mechanical ferryman to the afterlife. A mechanical ferryman? Since its first appearance, this train has clearly left its mark on the series, reappearing in other games and being somewhat reincarnated in other forms, like the Doom Train in Final Fantasy VIII, and the Interdimensional Train in Final Fantasy Unlimited. Seeing such a simple thing as a train leaves such an impression on a series as a whole just shows what a cool train this thing is, hence why it's on this list. Oh, and because you can do this to it. I body slammed the train! What have you done with your life? Number 4. I never really connected with Donkey Kong at a younger age. I was a PlayStation gamer and never played the Donkey Kong series, but I picked up the Wii game Donkey Kong Country Returns and honestly kind of enjoyed it. Its controls were tight even without the use of buttons, and it helped me get a better feel for the series as a whole. Speaking of which, you remember this boss? Nintendo seems to have a thing for mole-controlled trains, don't they? In their latest example, we get a pretty cool train boss. And while I usually wouldn't include minecart trains on this list, since they're not really trains in and of themselves, this one averts that by having an actual engine on the front of it. With a giant drill! Why do they even have that thing if the rails are already set? Seems weird. But I digress. In this battle you dodge flying pickaxes while you chase down the train, and eventually catch up to it. Then you get to play literal whack-a-mole as the miners pop out of the various carts. But it doesn't end there. After you hit them enough, you hop back on another cart and chase down the engine some more. Eventually you'll catch up to the mole foreman, I guess? And you get to finish him off in style, along with the tiki banjo thing. Seriously? Tiki banjo? But still, this battle was once again a standout example of trains and felt new and unique to the game, making it all the more memorable for me. My only gripe with this battle is you never get a sense of progression. After you take down 4 carts, another 4 have spontaneously appeared, so you can never be certain how close you are to actually beating the boss until you connect to the engine itself. It's just a touch of bad conveyance. But this battle is still very fun all the same, varied with some cool music and most of all, a cool train. Not a cold train. Is it? I don't know, maybe it runs on bananas or something. I wouldn't put it past this game. Number 3. Mega Man's had a lot of spin-offs over the years, hasn't he? For every... No! You know what? No! No! I am not repeating the same chunk of script again! I don't care how lazy you are! Come on with something different! Come on for Okay, I'm better now. Anyway, you gotta love them Mega Mans. Specifically this one, Mega Man Legends 2. Whilst there's a lot of rage against Capcom for cancelling its sequel, in fact there's a lot of rage against Capcom about Mega Man lately, the 2 games before it are pretty fun. The first games introduced the group of villains, the Bonds, including Teasel, what the fuck is his hair doing, Bon, Babu, and Tron. No, not one. The second game introduced some more villains called the Glides that, while not as memorable, did help contribute to this très bon train. Ugh, these writers... No, I've had my freak out. Let's just move on. The Gamoncha battle is a chase scene crossed with a battle, where you race after the Bonds and the Glides in their armoured train, whilst riding on your own train. Train surfing, if you will. This battle starts simple enough. You shoot at the train as it rides ahead, destroying the rear cannons of the glide car, before moving on to upper cannons, and then the middle of the train itself. Once all the cannons are down, the glide car gets detached, leaving the Bonds on their own. Then you get to play every Mega Man fan's favourite game, Missile Tennis! Once you've killed enough of those poor Surfbots, you're finally able to catch up to the train, whilst avoiding the roof cannon shots. Then you get to start attacking the train directly, which is very satisfying. Be careful of more of those poor Surfbots though. Then when you get to the front of the train and it finally breaks, you see... Oh man. Oh, that's so figures. Yeah, so Bon is somehow powering the train, which is very funny in and of itself. But finally you destroy the poor guy and the battle is won. As the train goes, this thing is awesome. Its multiple carriages and weaponry allow for a varied battle that keeps challenging you in different ways from start to finish. After that explosion at the end, it feels so satisfying. It's worth the stress of the boss fight. Its design is based around its weaponry, so it doesn't stand out too much in that manner, but still, this is one train that was well designed and a blast to... well, blast. Ugh, you guys are so fired after this. Number 2. Well, it was inevitable. On a list about trains, you have to mention Spirit Tracks. I just love the premise of this game. One guy in Nintendo was just like, hey, what if we put trains in Legend of Zelda? And Shigeru was all just like, bring that shit! And so, one of my favourite games of all time was born. And aside from just the regular trains you get to ride and shoot cannonballs with... satisfaction! You get this absolute beast of a train. Just look at this thing. It's a giant black train with an evil face, blue flaming eyebrows, and a big red nose. Maybe there's a cold. Train! Song parodies aside, this train really stands out compared to some of the others on this list. First, akin to the Ghost Train, this thing is very much alive, but somewhat more animated than the Ghost Train with that face it has. This train is essentially an antagonist as well, alongside Cole and Staven, or Burn if you're American. You see it ride off with Zelda's body, and it gives you incentive to want to track the damn thing down and get her back. Oh, and to stop Zelda's nagging, that kind of helps too. Not to mention, its design just looks so cool. The blue flames spewing from its wheels, its face roaring, and just how it flies across the sky cements it as a memorable figure in Legend of Zelda. Well, for me anyway. By the time you reach the end of the game, you finally have everything you need to track down these baddies and head into the Dark Realm. Before you can actually meet the demon train, you get to run down some of these smaller trains first. This is for all the hassle you gave me on the rails! Then you finally track down the train itself, which is so big it takes up 2 train tracks just to move around. Riding in your own little engine that could, you ride off on either side of it, switching tracks and blasting the 2 carriages that will shoot at you, rather similar to the Gamoncha battle actually. Then you move on to the train itself, firing lasers from those awesome gears. This battle's a little bit simple, but also a matter of timing and knowing when to slow down, really testing your skills at using your train to its full potential. Even after you beat this train, it doesn't end there for it. No, now you get to approach Malladus and Cole atop the damn thing as it careens on into the darkness. Once you finally do stop Malladus, the train dies with him, coming into an epic screeching halt and derailing, sinking into the darkness itself. Even in the final battle with Demon Cole, you can still see bits of the train left behind or in the background. It's a rather nice touch. To conclude, this is one of my favourite bosses in gaming, period, and certainly one of my favourite locomotives. The only question is, what could beat it? Number 1. Number 1 on my list is a train that surpasses all others. It combines the elements of design, symbolism, intrigue, and awe-inspiring uniqueness. And that train is none other than the Infernal train. This train is my absolute favourite train in video games, and here's why. First of all, just look at this thing. It's essentially a gigantic, gothic, Victorian cathedral belching smoke and fire on wheels. And the way it's designed as well just strikes fear into anything it runs past. Not to mention the train itself is absolutely gigantic, with multiple long carriages and an engine being run by this thing. But there's more to this gear-grinding behemoth than just that. Throughout the game, when you're in Wonderland, you'll come across this train a few times, tearing through whatever scenery or area it happens to be in, even running down a main character now and then. This train is pretty much your antagonist the moment you leave the first area, and it leaves its marks everywhere in Wonderland. And let's not forget the symbolism. As all of Wonderland is an escapist fantasy world for Alice in this reinterpretation, this train is seeking to destroy it. The reality of this train is that it is a device invented to destroy Alice's memories of the fire that killed her parents that she herself takes the blame for, and all to cover up the tracks of the main villain, also her psychiatrist. This train is his weapon to cover his tracks forever, and even brainwash Alice to become another mindless doll. It's a literal train of thought. So, once you reach the final level, you're on the train itself. Real-world Alice is about to confront the villain, and Wonderland Alice is going to stop the train for good. It's a very simple level, just a straight shot to the final boss fight. But along the way, you'll encounter the Hatter, the Caterpillar, now a butterfly, and even the Red Queen herself, all riding this hellbound locomotive. It's as if even they've given in to the power of the train, coming to realise it really can't be stopped. This really hammers home just how unstoppable this thing is, and even the music on board the train is designed to fill you with dread as you traverse it. Once you finally reach the engine, the final battle begins with the Dollmaker, a creepy entity in and of itself with the perfect setting at the very head of the train, as you can see everything rushing past it in the background. And at last you take the Dollmaker down and end the rampage of the blasted train. All in all, this train is easily the most memorable I've ever encountered. It's iconic, it's well designed, it's dangerous, it's powerful, and it has a symbolic value of a fantastic villain. It is, I feel, the best train in video games.
I'm the Celtic Guardian, and what more can I say? I like trains. Wait a sec, what was that noise? Oh no, it's a train!